His hands went this way, but his arms didn't take his hands this way.
Unless you put a crazy twist
And
on
you
it.
got to do something else, and you've got to do two other things.
And that's the thing, we're not saying you can't hit a ball like that.
I'm not taking my hands out, I'm taking my hands down.
Top 5 worst things taught on the internet.
When you make it to the top of your backswing and you start your transition coming down, your connection, we'll call it, and we use that term loosely, connection or the sequence between where your hands are and where your hip is, your trail hip, is vitally important. There's a very small window. The best players in the world put those relative to one another that we're going to show you today, and this is going to drastically help your downswing, your impact, your compression. So if Shaun will turn and use this camera for down the line, and let's go kind of the top of the swing here. All right, so Shaun's, and we're going to use the right hand, everyone's trail hand, middle of the trail hand, so kind of right top of the palm there as a reference. So Shaun's trail hand is somewhere over ankle to heel, right? That's pretty common. Now, if we take him back to address, this is going to surprise a lot of you. If we take him to address and use that same trail hand, the tour average is that hand moves 8 inches from where it starts to the top of the swing.
You can kind of see it. If I just swing it up, like swing it straight up and just move it there, that's about where you're going to end up.
And we see so many golfers trying to go from here to the backyard, and
they end up in the front yard.
Yeah, end up in the front yard down the fairway, or down the tree line. It's not a lot. So the proper amount of depth is not some young man's, thin man's game. It's again 8 inches, not very difficult to achieve. We're not going there. All right.
Okay.
So let's go back to that again.
Yep. Ready?
Yep. Okay, so good standard looking top of the backswing. Now, the relationship we're talking about is trail hand to pelvis, and we'll use the foot as reference.
So right in here at the top.
Somewhere in there at the top. Think ankle, heel, somewhere in there. Now, this is super important that you make the hands have enough depth in your backswing. So we see a lot of golfers keeping this shoulder or taking this shoulder down where they don't have depth. So they'll try to pull it back at some in the downswing. So that's first thing that's going to short circuit your ability to do
that's
this.
cheating the depth movement, and you have to put another compensating move in to overcome it. So there's an easier way to do this.
Right, if you just allow this shoulder to move across, it's going to go down because you're tilted forward. To move across, you're going to have plenty of depth. Okay, so from that good depth, what we're looking for is I'm going to hold his hands here. Now Shaun's going to re-square his hips. Okay, so right now, that right hand should be roughly over where he ties his shoes, give or take an inch or so. So basically, if we made it 8 inches in the backswing, they're going to come just a little bit, roughly half of that in the time it takes you to square the hips.
Exactly, and that's not driving the elbow.
That's the opposite of that.
Yeah, so you want some arm lift and a little bit of elbow flare, abduction in the backswing to support the club, right? And then the motion, as I square the hips up, the momentum of that is just going to allow my trail arm to reconnect. There's no driving.
There's no forward movement of the hands. And this is where this gets so many golfers in trouble when you talk about this relationship is his hands went this way, but his arms didn't take his hands this way. His body turn did.
That's right.
And he lowered, okay? So it's nothing to do with the arms. The arms from this spot are just doing this. Now, if I re-square my hips, there's that 4 inches. That's a tough one to wrap your head around if you've never done that before. And what we're looking for is when the hips are square again.
Yeah. So top of the swing, let's say 45, just for argument's sake. I'm going to square up.
Right here, around lead arm parallel in the downswing, that's when the hips should be square again. That's again where that right hand is going to be somewhere around where you tie your shoes. Now, that means you have to throw out this horrific idea of getting the elbow in front.
It's horrid.
Or going external, getting the arm in front.
It's got to be top 5 worst things taught on the internet.
Because that does not happen in high level swings. If you'll put yourself in that spot again, notice where his bicep, upper arm is relative to the shirt seam on his side. Go ahead, come on down. Right there. So that arm is matching basically the angle of his body line right on his shirt seam. Not in that forward position like that. That's a killer. That's a great way to start shanking shots.
Well, watch the club face.
Yep.
Unless you put a crazy twist
And
on
you got to
it.
do something else. Then you got to do 2 other things down by the ball.
And that's the thing. We're not saying you can't hit a ball like that, but why are you trying to make it more complicated than it needs to be? It's beyond me. Like, we're trying to build a swing where you don't need to hit that many balls.
Yes.
Right? We want a swing where you can get out of the car, loosen up a little bit, go off the first tee and hit it reasonably well most of the time, most days.
So the relationship, the sequencing of the hands to the hips, we've got a lot of questions of this over the years, is basically the hands at the top are kind of, because the hip's going to turn, are kind of around the front edge pocket of my pants, which just happens to be around my ankle. When I re-square, they're basically in the same spot. It's just the turn moves everything out. I'm not taking my hands out, I'm taking my hands down.
Yeah, yeah. So if I was going to set up to this ball here, my thought process from here, I have to, because I was taught to take my hands at the ball like a spear, that's a story for another day. It makes me cry thinking about how many balls I hit like that. I have to feel like in transition, my arms are kind of slow, and I use my body to kind of get some giddy up in them to get that little stretch on the lead arm as I start down. And for me, when I land it right there, I feel like, okay, I'm in such a good spot to straighten the lead side out, and when I do that, the club face comes in and squares up. And it's a very simple motion once you kind of figure out the transition. Transition is the hardest part of the golf swing to master. It's when things are going two directions at once, right?
Most golfers don't have a transition. They have it into a backswing and then a downswing. This middle part, the transition, is really what separates the swing you want from the swing you have.
Yeah, you could have two, to your eye, replica swings.
Right.
If one of them is turning and finishing everything together, then turning everything through together, and one of them has the arms kind of floating and the knees are starting to square up and the arms are kind of slow here and feeling like that the hips, the lazy Susan idea, start the downswing and obviously things ramp up. Those golfers are going to be wildly different in terms of effectiveness.
You talk about being taught to get the hand kind of stabbing the ball. I was taught the same thing. First time I saw my swing on 3D, my hips were about 48 degrees, shoulders were about 105, and they were half that at that point. They should be the same separation. So if you go 45, another 45, that 45 degree separation should be there. So I'm, in essence, doing this the whole downswing, staying on my trail side. If you do that and don't think that the ball's out here, I've got to get,
I mean, it's the kiss of death.
that's the difference. Think of it, this is a different way to think about the same thing that we've been saying for years. Get a down the line camera set up properly, hands height, right on the hands behind, or better yet, Siri's chiming in.
Don't mind that.
Or better yet, get the swing coach app. And you're going to see how your hands work up and down the plane by not thinking of moving my hands up and down the plane.
It's going to track your hand path. So what you can pay attention to, can you get your knees back to square and still have a reasonable hand path in this transition phase? And it'll track the hand path throughout the swing. It'll say steep, shallow. If you can get it in that zone where it says good swing and you've got your knees back to square while you're on your way to some good golf, because from there, you stack the deck in your favor because the swing's pretty much over at waist height. Now, it's not, but it is.
There's things happening, but your ability to affect those things
Yeah.
on any sort of conscious level, not going to happen.
And that's a cool feeling if you know, like, okay, if I can just get locked and loaded right about there and I'm straightening my lead side out and letting the club freewheel, the best part about that is you don't have to steer the club anymore.
Right. We used to have a lot of golfers, you know, before we started teaching together, when we were just starting teaching, you know, pose impact during lessons, like just get yourself to a good impact. Now we probably have golfers more stop halfway down to see where they are, because that's kind of the Mendoza line. If you're not sorted out in good spots halfway down, there's not going to be no magic in those other milliseconds.
So true. And what he's saying is we'll have someone come in and instead of having them stop at the top, we'll say, make a swing on the backswing and stop halfway down, and we'll see where they land, because that's pretty much game over. If you can't put it in a reasonable spot, like if I told someone to do that and they go like that, there's no fixing the rest of it. You can't last second tip the club upside down like this, and you could, but you're going to struggle with contact.
I'll bet you watching half dozen donuts. I'm trying to lose weight, so normally I would say a dozen donuts. Half dozen donuts.
You are losing weight.
The first time you film your swing, and you just put the brakes on halfway down, you're going to see your pelvis still closed, and you're going to see your hands farther out than they should be. That's the part you have to work on in that first half of the downswing. If you get that sorted by, again, filming yourself, putting yourself in those positions, getting to the top in the proper place first. If that doesn't happen, all bets are off anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got tons of videos on that. Listen, not even that. I mean, you got to get your grip right.
Right,
You got to
right.
get your setup reasonable.
But if
and
you
then
can't
take
get
the-
halfway down,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be worrying about having shaft lean or any of the other things you see at impact. If you're not right halfway down, you're not going to get the things you want. So focus on that sequencing in the hands of the hip from start to finish. If you want a drill to help you do this, click on that pinned comment below, the first link in there. I'll give you another drill to help you do that.